Good morning, guys. So this is my ride to from Osorno to Puerto Montt. Got up really early in the morning, got going early. I spoke to a couple of guys, a couple of bikers in Osorno, and they told me to take a different route out of Osorno and go around what is basically a big lake area type thing, and that also has a couple of volcanoes. So basically, instead of going down Route 5, I basically took a turn off and headed towards a place called Ensenada, and basically it just loops around this rather large lake, Quillaipe, or whatever it's called. There's mountains all the way along the way there, so it was pretty good. So basically I took the route down, and then I basically followed this big lake, and there's the Osorno volcano and the Quillaipe volcano as well that you see along the way. They're pretty impressive, and it was a beautiful morning. Not so much once I got closer to Puerto Montt, and I was staying at around about 30 miles outside of Puerto Montt. It got cloudy, but it was a really beautiful morning. There was cloud in the morning, and then as the day went on, you can see that it cleared up. Beautiful blue sky. So when I was going around the volcanoes and along the lake, it was pretty spectacular. So Puerto Montt is a pretty crappy little city, really, but it's sort of like a starting point for everyone who goes into Patagonia, and that's its main sort of highlight, if you will. But it didn't impress me very much, and I'd already read and spoken to a few people, and they said, "I don't stay there, stay in this place or this place," and I decided to stay by the lake. There's Cabanas, and that was a great move. They were fantastic Cabanas. Crappy Wi-Fi, which you just get used to after a while. You pretty much have to go to internet cafes and stuff like. I had to work all the time, so this is Puerto Montt here. So the sand and all that's not exactly amazing, and it felt a little bit dirty, the city, but a bit ramshackle, as you can tell. There's a lot of modern buildings, and there's a lot of shipping that goes on from there as well. It took me a while to find the place where I could actually book my ferry, and I'll show you. I've got a link on my website where you go. It's basically a reddish brown building with a red sign out the front, but if you look it up for the ferry service, it gives you another location, so they're pretty crappy with how they do it. But basically you just got to stand in line and wait, and then you just get a ferry for your bike. It's basically two ferries, one main ferry, which is the big one, and then the other one just transports vehicles and people. That's all it does. It's not much of a ferry. I just stood with my vehicle the whole time on that one, and it was a lot of dirt roads once you got to the ferry terminal outside of there. So there was one more. So I stayed here for a couple of days, organised my tickets, got all that done. So the first day I just looked around to find out where it was. Then went to my cabanas and unpacked and got everything, and I washed everything and got myself ready for the ferry ride. And then the following day I went into Puerto Montt and I went for a ride, did some off-roading, and organised my tickets. So once my tickets were in hand, I was all good to go. I had about a 2-hour ride to get to where the ferry terminal was, which wasn't going to be a problem, but and the ferry wasn't leaving till around about 11 to 12 a.m. So I gave myself a few hours to spare to get the ferry. And basically what I did was I decided, okay, I'll get the ferry on this date, and then I'll get to the town where the ferry leaves from, and I'll stay the night there. And I stayed the night in this pretty crappy little place. but it was good enough for the night, and then first thing in the morning caught the ferry. Yeah, so it was a pretty exciting time for me, because like the last few days have been pretty crappy riding, and today was a lot better, you know, riding around the volcanoes again and some beautiful lakes, and when the sun was out it was fantastic. But you know, I had fresh tyres on my bike. I was having some air problems with my front tyre. I had some real issues with that, and it was about 4 or 5 hours before I'd have to top up, but it's still annoying, especially when you just got to get the pump out and all that, and you have to bring a pump with you. If you go on a trip like that, you got to bring a little portable pump, because it helps you in two ways. Obviously, if you have an issue like I'm having, and also if you're going to do off-roading, you really want to, and you know you've got like if you've only got like a 10-20 mile stretch, you might not do it, but if you've got like a big long stretch, letting a whole heap of air out of the tyres, especially on the loose stuff, just gives you so much, it gets so much more confidence. As you can see, it's quite a beautiful ride. So you've got to have one of those pumps, and the more reliable the better. My one basically didn't have a reading gauge. The reading gauge stopped working after about a month. But you know, on my bike I've got a computer that tells me what the pressure is and all that sort of stuff, so it wasn't an issue for me. But you know, it's just a matter of how you feel. Some people like riding on the roads with a bit of pressure out of the tyres, but I wouldn't recommend it too much. Especially when you've got a big load on your bike. But you know, when you get to this part of the trip where you know that this is going to be the most rewarding, but also the toughest part, because there's a lot of off-roading now. Even though in certain sections they are doing the roads, but it is pretty dangerous. If you want to ride at speed, you get just stuff happens all the time. Like there's rocks all over the road, and you just can't ride at speed. You know, when you're riding off-roading down further south, you know, 40, 50, 60 kilometres an hour is pretty much all you're getting. Just coupled with a lot of the roads were pretty good, but all the corners going around like big hairpins and stuff like that were just so churned up. You know, you just had to be really, really careful, and especially if you had another car, truck or bus coming the other way. The buses I found were the worst for everyone. The truckies were all, for the most part, were really good, but the bus drivers were just trying to get to a place as quickly as possible. And, you know, I saw more bus accidents on the way than anything else. You know, they're pretty much psychopaths, the bus drivers. That's why I'd never, if I travelled these young backpackers that go on these buses, you know, I don't know how they sleep on them. I mean, some of them, more the reputable ones are better. The worst countries, Peru was probably the worst out of all of them. I've never seen bus drivers take so big a risk just continuously, time after time around corners, just going blind around corners and just bipping their horn. They also overtake. You know, you could be riding just nicely along here and then they'll just overtake someone coming the other way, and you've just got to get out the way into that little strip on the right there. Pretty bloody dangerous, you know, and they just don't care. They know that you'll get out the way, you know. So basically, this location was just all about planning for the next leg, just making sure I had everything. Basically, what I did is when I got to the cabanas, I unpacked everything. I put them all into little sections in the room. And then I repacked everything. So by this stage, you know the stuff that you have to get out on a regular basis, the stuff that you need in your tank bag, all that sort of stuff, you know. I was having issues with this camera, this Drift Ghost. For a couple of days, it just didn't record videos. It took the photos, but not the videos. And here, some of the videos worked and some of them didn't. And what I have on my wrist is I've got a little thing in it, and it flashes green when you're recording. When you're recording, it flashes green when you're in video mode, yellow when you're in photo mode, purple when you're in burst mode. There's one other colour too, but I only really use the two: the green, which is the video mode, and and the yellow, which is the photo mode. And there's an interval mode as well, blue, that takes a photo every 10-15 seconds, but you just end up with a truckload of photos. The only issues I had with it, when you can take photos by pressing the record button on your wrist when you're riding, but it only records it in 4:3 aspect ratio rather than 16:9, which is annoying because you've got to crop them afterwards if you're going to do videos with them. So, but all in all, I found it a lot better camera to use on a day-to-day basis than the GoPro. Just a lot easier to do stuff, and you know, because my eyesight's not that great, I need reading glasses. So basically, you know, the GoPro is just so hard to read what mode you're in all the time, and you end up screwing it up. And yeah, the GoPro remote's just a complete and utter rip-off, and the battery life on it just sucks big time. So I just didn't bother with that. The battery life on this remote is 6 hours, which is pretty darn good. It's a really thin little thing, but you can just look at it once and you know what mode you're in all the time. And you can there's two buttons, one to switch the mode and one to record the mode. So, you know, and once you press the button, you hear a little ping in your ear. It's also got an audio out, so you can attach a microphone. Yeah, so this is just me stopping off for, you know, I had a thing where I used to ride on the longer trips. I'd stop about every 2 hours and just have like a 15 to 20 minute break. I would never stop at gas stations. I've said that in previous videos. I'd stop at gas stations to fill up with gas, and then I'd move on and find a place to find some street food or something like that, and find a place to eat, and something like this where it was a nice little place you can sit down. I preferred lying down, so if I could find a nice grassy area, I would lay down, because you're sitting on a bike, you know, and your ass is a bit sore. That's a pretty cool picture. Not of me, but the background's pretty awesome. A volcano in there on the lake. But yeah, I'd stop at gas to get gas and move on quickly, and then find a nice spot to relax and have something to eat. Because you don't want to be stopping at gas stations to relax. There's some snow on the mountains there. But yeah, today was a really, really good ride. Yeah, so when I'm riding on roads, probably about every 2 hours, I'd have a 15 to 20 minute break. And then if I was doing off-road, it'd be an hour or less having a break. Because with the off-roading, especially in Chile and Argentina, where a lot of it's just like 6 inches of gravel, and it's just really, the bike just moves all over the place. When you first get on it, you get a little bit nervous about it, because you think you're just moving all the time, and you just don't want to get into any ruts or any rails where cars have gone and get stuck in them. So I never fell once, but I probably could have fallen 30, 40 times. This sort of stuff is just easy, you know, that's just like you can ride 80 kilometres an hour on that stuff. But when it gets really thick, not like that, but that is a little bit of a case, but the rocks will be a lot thicker than that. They're fairly thin, you know, not a lot of volume in each rock. But yeah, it's off-roading, I'd have a break, and it was really tough. I'd break every 30 minutes because it was just too hard to work. Just a pretty packed bike. Yeah, it's a thing about when you're going on these trips. I didn't do anywhere near enough camping. You can see on the back of my bike, just behind me, I've got that GoPro pole. So I used to use that to just take some, I call them hero shots, like this. I just put the GoPro down, get off my bike, have a break, put the GoPro down and have it taking a photo every 10-15 seconds, and then pick it back up. At the end of the day, you've got 300 or 400 photos, but who cares? And you just pick the best ones out of them. This one here was, this is a pretty busy road, but I love that sign in the middle of the road. How much of violence is that for a police force? And this is the sort of food you can get, you know, just so yummy. The soups, they just, you know, just the spices and that they put in, it's just phenomenal. But yeah, no, I just you know, when you go on a trip like this, you're always thinking, oh, I need this, I need that. I probably took off about 15 kilos to 20 kilos of stuff over the length of the trip. You know, I whittled down the clothes I needed. Basically, I was wearing my riding gear, which is the climb gear, which is also waterproof, and then I'd have a shirt underneath and a pair of board shorts underneath the climb gear. Only because I like, if I got a chance to have a swim somewhere, I'd park the bike and I'd just get off and take my gear off and then just have a swim. Didn't worry me if the pants were a bit wet, but I put them back on. Obviously, in the colder climates are good, but so when I started, I had like 4 or 5 pairs of shorts, a couple pairs of jeans, some other pants, just for strolling around, and a couple of pairs of thermals, all that sort of stuff. And by the end of the trip, I had like 3 shirts, 2 pairs of shorts. I had 1 pair of pants, and that was all. And then obviously I kept the thermals and the gloves, but you basically get rid of all the excess. And then by the end of the trip, I was also getting rid of all my extra batteries. So when you've got, like, I had a GoPro, I had a Samsung 360, I had like 2 GoPros, Samsung 360, I had 2 Olympus TG tracker cameras, which I use a little bit further down. I had my Drift Ghost, and then I had like 4 or 5 batteries for each of them. So I just basically ditched to what I needed, and just there with all the. And then I have my Olympus camera as well, which I ditched as well. So I ended up just ditching a whole heap of electrical computer equipment, and really, if I had to do the trip again, and I also had the AirDog drone, which I'll write a review about later, and that took up a fair bit of space as well. I've now got the DJI Mavic Pro, which is a lot slimmer profile and would be a lot better drone as well. But I'll give a full review on the AirDog a little bit later on. But all that stuff takes up, and then your camping gear, and I hardly ever camped, which was, if I didn't have to work, I would have camped all the time. Because the biggest expense you're going to have on a trip like this is your accommodation. It's by far the biggest. Just the gas and that might have been $3,000 US all up, maybe a little bit more. Food is just, in South America, cheap as chips. If you eat street food all the time, you might be up for like $10, $15 a day maximum. Obviously you don't, because you do go to cafes and stuff like that, especially if you've got to work. But if I didn't have to work, I would have shaved $10,000 off, $15,000 off my trip just by camping. And it becomes a choice after a while. Like, sometimes you want to get a nice bed and stuff like that. And I think that if you're going to stay in a city and you're going to be having some major destinations where you're going to have a break, I think if you can afford it, you should get a hotel. But other than that, I camped maybe 5% of the time, and hotels, cabanas, hostels the rest of the time. With hostels, I always got a private room. I always look for a hostel with private rooms, because I just don't trust people in those places. People warn me about going to all these different countries, the criminal elements and the violence and stuff like that. But all the stories I heard, nearly all the stuff that was stolen was from other travellers. And hostels are a gold mine for all these people that they pinch a little bit of money here, they'll pinch a camera, they'll pinch a computer, stuff like that. So the smart money is to, if you can afford it, it's only, most of the hostels, the private rooms I stayed in, were like $20 a night, $25 a night, compared to maybe $5 a night for just the general population. And usually with the private rooms, you also got some air conditioning, which is not so necessary in places once you get here, but up north and stuff where it was really hot, it'd be pretty miserable finishing a day's riding and then being just boiling heat the whole time. And you know, you suffer that in Asia where they don't have a lot of air conditioning, but you sort of get used to it. But I'm a heavy sweater, so not as much fun for me. So yeah, just with all your gear, you know, I could probably have got rid of, if I didn't camp, probably 2 bags. But the next big trip I'm going to do a lot more camping, hopefully. And it won't be for a while yet, but the camping equipment does take it up. The only thing I probably wouldn't take with me is cooking equipment and stuff like that. I mean, I know that it's it just takes up a lot of space. So basically, my bike setup was tank bag all the stuff I need each and every at any moment during the day, like a cable, so little snacks to eat, my water bottle, my drinks bottle. I had a drink thing in my climb backpack as well, which was fantastic. And just any of the things that I might need. I had a backup wallet, and I'll talk about security in one of the videos at the end, where I'll do a lot more personal videos. But I had all these different things that I thought I'd need every day in my tank bag at any moment. My backpack was, if I needed it, I had the extra boots to put on, the wet weather boots, but my climb gear pretty much worked perfect in wet weather, so I didn't really need the rain gear. But I did have a little raincoat, a little lightweight raincoat in my backpack. I had the extra water you're carrying in the backpack. And I've said before, a really smart thing to do if you've got some weight in your backpack is to put, be able to, at the back of you, be able to have something to rest the backpack on while you're riding. It takes all the weight off your shoulders. I had some spare batteries in there. I'd usually have a couple of drinks in there as well, because just drinking water all day is a little bit boring from the backpack drink tube, you know. So I'd have the tank bag, the backpack, and then behind me I had I had 2 bags on each side. I had 2 of these Protect bags, so it's amazing, and I'll write a review about them later as well. And they're waterproof bags, but they're also inflatable. So if you go swimming or you've got to swim out to an island, which I did a couple of times with my drone, one time the drone didn't work, so it was fruitless, but the other time, so it's waterproof and you can blow it up as well. So if you're going to put computer gear and stuff like that in there, you can have a bit of cushioning on it. And then inside the side cases, left and right, one side would be my camping gear, my camping equipment, my burner, my pots, you know, drinks, forks, all that sort of crap, and fly spray and lights or whatever I needed. This is the place where I was staying. The Google map had it at another location. But anyway, and then in the other one I'd have all my tools and stuff for my bike. The oil, the extra brake fluid. The things you need to change yourself is your oil and your coolant if you've got an air-cooled bike. A water-cooled bike, sorry. Cool, and you know, had some brake fluid, some hydraulic fluid as well. Just all the basics that you need on a day-to-day. One thing I would do is I'd learn a little bit more about my bike and get rid of half the tools that I had, because there's a fair bit of weight in the tools. And then in the back case I'd have all my computer and photo equipment, and then on the top of the back case I had my tent. So I was fully decked, and you know, my bike with all the gear on it was probably around about 300 kilograms, 600 pounds, 600 and something pounds, which would surprise me, because when I got to take my bike back, it got weighed with all the gear on it, or most of the gear in it, and it was 290 kilograms, which was less than what the GS 1200 was with that gear on it. I wish I could have had to put more gear on it, but not to be. But yeah, so that basically packed my bike. So the place I'm staying at is actually right here on the left, and I actually drove straight past it. I thought it was this. I stopped and thought, this looks like it is it, and I thought, I'll have a little bit of a look around. So I went a bit further down. It was pretty breezy that day. It was a really beautiful location, and it's actually a really cool place. Like from the outside it doesn't look like much, but they've set it up so nicely. The only thing, just like so many places, they just don't know how to do Wi-Fi. you know, they get a company in and they put a little rod on the wall, but they really, with Google Wi-Fi and stuff like that, they can have one of those little Google Wi-Fi things in each room, cover the whole place with high speed, because near the actual office, the internet works really well. I think I'll just stop up here and turn back around. No, keep going. So there's just horses wandering around here and stuff like that. It was pretty crazy. But the place I stayed at had like jet skis, ATVs, all this sort of crap that you could hire. I mean, I didn't, because I just couldn't be bothered. I've ridden plenty of jet skis before. And the ATV vehicles are not exactly my favourite type of vehicle anyway. So this is just heading back around. And yeah, but they had a sensational setup. You could hire canoes and paddle boards and stuff like that. And then you could also, and they had a spa, which I've got a little video at the end. But a lot of these towns, you can just drive in and you'll find cabanas, as long as it's not a real popular tourist destination at a high time of the year. You'll be able to find cabanas, and they'll just have cabanas out the front. They might not be on any of the booking sites, but you can usually pick up a cabana for anywhere between, say, $25 and $60 for a night. I just always ask for the Wi-Fi, and then I test the Wi-Fi. Once I get there, if they say they've got good Wi-Fi, and then I'll test it before I book, because usually it's crap. This is a really nice house, really nice people will help you out with everything. They've got like a barbecue, you can have cook your own meat on the barbecue. There it is. The daughter comes out, but once you get there, I've got some photos after. It's a really cool setup. Again, just wish they had decent Wi-Fi. There's a little baby kitten there as well. So I think I took a photo of that too. I think I was the only one there. There's a couple of permanent residents there on the left-hand side. I stayed pretty much just where that umbrella is on the left. That's my room. There's their jet skis, ATV. I had to go back up the hill a bit here. Push. The cables going everywhere.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Always say thank you. Here we go. Yeah, so I stayed here for one night, 2 nights, yeah, before I headed to where the ferry leaves. This little shot of just around the corner there of the bike. There's a little place a little bit further down that I stopped at, had something to eat there the next morning. This is where you get the ferry tickets. That door where that guy's coming out, you go in there, and on the left-hand side you get a ticket and you wait for your turn. And I'll put a marker in the post. I'll put a marker on the map. That's the spa area of the cabanas there. Did a really fantastic job doing these up. Really nice little areas for just relaxing. It'd be great with a group of people. They told me they get some groups of bike riders from time to time. There's a little barbecue there. Set yourself up with. There's a little horse just wandering around. The final thing is me just having a bit of a spa. It's pretty cold there, but I was actually talking about how I have the ugliest feet in the world, and they are pretty friggin' ugly. They get beaten up so much when you're wearing boots all day, every day. But anyway, guys, questions and comments below. Happy to answer any questions or comments that you do have, and we'll talk again soon.